Welcome back to Mrecaps, the place where movies come back to life in minutes. 25 years ago, Kazunori Yamauchi hoped to design a driving simulator that would make racing accessible to the entire world. It would be named Gran Turismo. Jan Mardenborough lives in Cardiff, Wales, and is a huge fan of the Gran Turismo video games. He has saved enough money to buy himself a simulator. He lives with his parents, Steve and Leslie, and his brother Kobe, and works in a clothing store. Steve, a former football player, opposes Jan's ambitions to become a professional racer, seeing it as impossible and dangerous. Danny Moore, a Nissan marketing officer, arrives in Tokyo for a conference where he pitches possible investors on a tournament for Gran Turismo players to compete for the chance to be genuine racers for Nissan, which might potentially improve car sales. After the contest is approved, Danny searches out specialists to train the racers, but is turned down by everyone until his last pick, former racer Jack Salter. Danny discovers Jack working as a mechanic and offers his plan to him, but Jack declines, claiming that putting gamers in genuine race cars might have fatal effects. Later, Jack has a meeting with racer Nicky Coppa, an egotistical hothead and rising star. When Jack tries to give him advice on how to keep his emotions under control, Nicky dismisses him as a has-been, so Jack contacts Danny and decides to pursue the instructor position. Jan later receives a message inviting him to compete in a simulated race after playing Gran Turismo at a gamer cafe and logging an amazing score. According to Danny's video, top racers will be invited to join the newly formed GT Academy for a chance to compete for real. Kobe later informs Jan that he is heading to an outdoor event with pals. Jan initially declines, but Kobe mentions that his crush Audrey will be there. Jan goes and talks to Audrey, who wants to tour the world. The police break up the party, forcing the teenagers to leave. While driving Steve's car back, one of Jan and Kobe's buddies approaches a nearby automobile to pass them beer, only for the two cars to collide, drawing the attention of the police. After the other car is pulled over, Jan accelerates and speeds away, prompting the police to pursue. After a brief chase, Jan is able to get the cops off his tail, but he and Kobe are dismayed to find Steve waiting for them at home, and Jan accepts responsibility for the shattered mirror. Jan is taken to work with Steve in a rail yard, just as the simulated race is about to begin. Jan leaves and rides his bike to the cafe, where he arrives in time to sign in. He begins to outrun the other players by applying the abilities he has learned from playing at home, and he finishes first, qualifying him for the academy. Jan prepares to go, but Steve warns him that it is risky. But Jan tells him that it was he who instilled in him a passion of driving at a young age, and he is determined to prove them wrong. Jan comes to the GT Academy alongside 9 other future racers, including the arrogant Matty Davis. Jack delivers a boring speech to them, and he continues to believe this is a horrible idea. The racers then begin intense driving and physical training. 4 of them are disqualified, and Jan is in risk of being the next. During a driving round with Jack, he accidentally crashes despite swearing he hit the brakes. After learning that the brakes were really malfunctioning, Jack informs Jan that another racer has been removed, allowing him to compete in the final race. Jan yells with excitement. The racers prepare for the qualifying race. Jan honors his father by placing a football team sticker on his helmet. He starts the race in last place but quickly moves up to the front. As he comes closer to Matty, who is leading, Jan utilizes his video game techniques to ride alongside him, and it's a close finish. Danny believes Matty won, but Jack has them watch the footage again to confirm that Jan won by a hair. Jan is moving on to larger races, and his teammates, including Matty, congratulate him. Jan flies to Austria with Jack and Danny to compete in races for an FIA license. He competes against Nicky and other racers, starting in dead last place. As the races progress, Jan begins to rise ahead, except for one in which his car is knocked off course by Nicky, and he does not finish. He has one more race in Dubai, where Jack informs him that he must finish in at least 4th place to receive his license. During the race, Jan overtakes Nicky, causing the jerk driver to accelerate and collide with another car. A tire from Nicky's car flies into Jan's windshield, but does not cause enough damage to prevent him from seeing, allowing him to finish fourth and obtain his license. Jan calls Audrey and invites her to Tokyo to watch him officially sign with Nissan. They spend the day together and end up at a dance club, where they have their first kiss. Jan then travels to the Nürburgring track in Germany for another race, which Steve and Leslie are watching from home. On the 6th lap, Jan advances to second place, shortly before driving too quickly up a slope, causing his car to tip over and crash badly. His parents get terrified after witnessing it on television, and Jan is transported to the hospital with Jack by his side. Danny and Jack explain to Jan what happened after he awakens. A spectator was sadly killed in the crash, but officials assure Jan that it was not his fault. He begins to cry and expresses his want to be alone. He can't even bring himself to talk to his parents, blaming himself for what occurred. Once Jan has fully recovered, Jack drives him to the crash site and tells him what terminated his racing career. He was driving on the Le Mans track and collided with another driver, killing him. Jack quit racing after that and regretted not realizing how excellent he could have been, and he does not want Jan to go through the same thing. He lets Jan take the wheel so he can complete his lap. Jan and Jack meet with Danny, who informs them that the other racing teams are attempting to halt the practice of having sim racers compete and are preparing charges against them. They still intend to compete in the 24-hour race in Le Mans with their own Nismo squad, joined by Maddie and fellow GT Academy driver Antonio Cruz. John will be supported in Le Mans by his family, Audrey, and fellow GT Academy racers. Steve pays Jan a visit as he prepares and apologizes for not providing him with the necessary support earlier. The race begins, with Jan, Maddie, and Antonio swapping driving hours. One competitor driver is involved in a violent crash, but he survives. When Jan gets behind the wheel, he begins to lose focus as he recalls the accident. Jack helps Jan by playing Kenny G and Enya, allowing him to regain his focus. On the final hour and lap of the race, Jan begins to work his way to the front, having to outrace Nicky. He recalls racing the Le Mans track in computer games and using his own strategy to outperform the other drivers. Using the same strategy, he catches up to Nicky, and they race neck and neck toward the finish line until they arrive. And Jan wins. The entire team and his family rush to the podium to rejoice, while Nicky and his squad accept defeat. The final picture shows that Jan Mardenborough and Team Nissan's triumph at Le Mans transformed motorsports forever. Jan has competed in over 200 races and even performed as his own stunt double in this video. Pictures of the real Jan and his family appear alongside their screen counterparts.